Welcome to Mindset of a Beast, the good, the bad, the ugly of fitness.
I'm your trainer, Trey.
And I'm your trainer, Cass.
And today we're going to talk about, it's story time.
Hey.
So, I get a lot of questions about Ninja Warrior and what it was like and things like that. And the other day I was thinking about it, and it's like Ninja Warrior was a huge part of my life. It was, and it was a fun part. It was a stressful part. It was exciting. Um, But then I started thinking about all the things that kind of went into becoming this ninja warrior. And it kind of dawned on me. It's like, what would have happened if I never done it? Or what would have happened if I was never prepared for Ninja Warrior? Right? Because a lot of people don't know, when my first season of Ninja Warrior, I had zero ninja experience. Right. So Ninja Warrior had been on for almost 10 years at this point. Because it was in Japan and then it came to the States for like 3 seasons. And then out of nowhere, I got asked to do, this is how it started, my first season. I got asked to come to a gym that I was pretty familiar with to try out for a show, because I missed the application process of being on Ninja Warrior for season 4. So I showed up with no background at this ninja gym that was huge and had all these different obstacles. Never done obstacles before, right? Never. And they were like, show us what you have. Okay. I boxed, I played football, know nothing about ninja.
Just and fitness, boxing
and fitness,
football and fitness.
Functional training, athletic training. That's my thing, right? So I was like, what do you want me to do? So they start pointing at things, and it's like, oh, can you do this? Can you do this? Some of my friends, they were like, hey, show them this. Okay. I jump on and I execute. No background, just based off what I was doing beforehand, I was able to execute the exercises. My body was prepped without even knowing on what to do on these exercises. I was just fit enough to be able to do it. But what would have happened if I was not exercising? If I wasn't on point, like just showing up every day at the gym, not knowing where this thing was going to
where this journey was going to lead you,
outside of like helping people in fitness and, wanting to be a better boxer and stuff like that. So it's like, what would have happened if that Tremaine, who wasn't prepared, showed up for the same opportunity? What would have happened? Like, how would y'all have viewed me? Would that have been different? Would my life been different in a different way?
I think it definitely would have been different, because one, you wouldn't have been prepared for it.
Right.
2,
so there would have been no show.
There would have been no show. There would have been no Tremaine on American Ninja Warrior.
The Ninja Warrior, right? Yeah. Reaching kids and stuff like that. Like that Tremaine would
not exist.
Like, if y'all know about the multiverse, like, all right, nerds. So I really started thinking about this, because it's like Ninja Warrior, that one instance of me, that hour of me doing something in that gym with no background, led to me going to Cambodia,
opening up your own gym,
opening up my own gym, reaching a lot of kids that, message me all the time. I'm able to speak into them. That Tremaine never would have existed, right? So preparation is everything in all things. Like, you don't know what your body's capable of or what's going to happen in the future. Like, for example, fitness, people want to look fit.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're getting into the winter time, the holiday season. But everybody has this idea of what they want to look like. But come October, November, December, January, those cold months, most people don't want to be in the gym.
Most people don't want to be in the gym. They don't want to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Which in some instances, I can understand.
Everybody, is this the majority of Americans, right?
I can understand, because the weather changes. It gets a little colder. You want to stay home more.
Mm-hmm.
it's the holidays. You got
Right.
holiday movies, you got hot cocoa, like you have all these things that make you not want to pursue the body that you actually want for next summer.
Mm.
But that puts you already 4 months behind.
Right.
Most
Right.
people think, oh, summer body, I'm gonna start in April, May, because I'm going on a trip in June. It don't work
That's too
that
late.
way.
Right. So just getting back into preparation, what you just mentioned, um, if you have a goal by springtime, want to look a certain way, or I want to be able to do certain things. Winter season is what we call bulk. Some bodybuilders call bulking season. We like to call it preparation season, right? You prep your body in the winter for that summer body, right? And if you're getting started, it may not be the perfect or the idea that you have, but you're closer, right? You start now, October, November, and you prep your body between now and then till March. Just imagine what your body could be capable of athletically, aesthetically. What are you not, what are you holding yourself back from by slacking off right now? Right? You prep now for what you want later. The only reason I was able to do Ninja Warriors is because I stayed in preparation mode. Right? If I would have slacked at any point, y'all wouldn't have known the Ninja Warrior Tremaine. Y'all would have known a different Tremaine. Probably still pretty athletic, but that part of my life that changed me in a lot of different ways. I got to do public speaking and all these other things. A lot of other things outside of fitness came from being prepped, right? So you don't know what you're holding yourself back from slacking off right now.
And
Right?
it's not even just that, like, there was this one lady on social media. I absolutely love following her. I follow like people with missing limbs and stuff on social media because they motivate me. But she was explaining that one of the reasons why she stays fit is because she had an emergency with her husband.
Mhm.
Yeah, she had an emergency with her husband. He ended up eating something that he was allergic to. Granted, he's almost 40 and never had a reaction to food before. And he all of a sudden couldn't breathe, passed out. He was gone. And because of the fact that she works out, she was able to drag him across some rooms, bring him outside, like throw him in the car, bring him into the, like, she was like, if it wasn't for her constantly staying on her fitness, she would not have been able to save his life.
Yeah.
Because,
That's huge.
and that to me is huge. So it's like, even though you're prepping and you might not see the results you want, like if it's summer body, you're still prepping in other areas. And I think people usually forget that.
Yeah, it's like it's not always just about you.
Exactly.
Like fitness for a lot of people, or just I did. If it's just aesthetics that you're aspiring for, that's great, right? But at a certain point, it has to become a little bit more than just looking good. Because then, once you look good, what's going to keep you wanting to stay looking good?
Because that's the hardest part.
Yeah,
is to maintain it.
Yeah, I get questions all the time like, well, were you ever overweight? Were you ever fat? I said, no. And there some people like they kind of frown upon that. Well, you don't understand what I'm going through. And at a certain point, I do not, because I've never been out of shape in that area. But what I can tell them is staying fit and getting fit are two different things. One is actually harder than the other because I have witnessed people who have lost weight, they can't maintain it, so they put it all the way back on. It's a whole different mindset actually getting to that goal and then now keeping that goal. It's great that you got there. That is awesome. It took a lot of will, took a lot of discipline to get there. Now we take it to another level in fitness by keeping it.
And that's where so many mind games happen, is when you're trying to maintain it, because the results you see smaller, like they're not as drastic, as big, as often. So when you're trying to maintain, it's definitely a place of battle in the head. And I also like the fact that you mentioned yeah, you've never been overweight.
Mm.
But one, that's also been a choice.
Yeah, I could
You've
slack off at
chosen,
any point.
exactly, you have constantly chosen to maintain and prep and keep this physique and this body and your fitness level.
Mhm.
Where at the same time, it's like if you go to a doctor, because this is one big thing for me too, like when I go to a doctor and they say, oh, it's just gonna be, a 6-week recovery. I ask the same question, well, have you ever been through this procedure to know that it's actually 6 weeks before I could go back? And they'll say no. And I think a lot of people, they'll take the advice from a doctor because, the title, the name,
Depression.
the profession, but they also haven't been through that part of the journey. So it's like, why can't you accept somebody who stays on their game too and accept their feedback of the journey? I just think it's weird that people mock it. Does that make
The
sense?
fact of they never been through it, so they
Yeah.
can't speak into me.
Yeah.
Because people they want
No, no, no.
relatable. What?
The fact that you've never been through it, so you can't speak to them.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
pretty much, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like they won't accept what I'm saying because I haven't been through it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's because most people, they want to be able to relate.
Hmm.
Like you can't relate to what I'm going through, right?
Hmm.
But I have the same battles or cravings you do, right? I just
Who does he have cravings?
I have sugar cravings just like you do. I want to eat cookies and eat out during the week just like you do. I just make a decision and those decisions get harder and harder. But it starts with those small preparations. Like the more disciplined you are getting into it, preparation with your meal prep, right? That's a form of preparation. Like you build that discipline. So when you get to the point where you are, the meal prepping is no longer like crazy hard. It's now part of just your everyday lifestyle. But if it's not something that you've done, and it's going to be a lot harder for you to do,
Yeah,
right? Adjust to, right? So I'm able to adjust to eating and stuff like that just because it's took years of me being disciplined when it comes to my training. Got to show up every day. I hate taking a day off, and it's not that I can't afford to. It's ingrained in me that I need to show up. But those are baby habits that started younger.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're having a hard time with showing up every day, it's just because you're fairly new to it, right? If you have a habit of showing up 3 days a week, that's a habit you're going to form. So we start getting into, being more persistent on, and people say persistent, but it's like, what does that mean? It's you continually doing something despite how hard it is, right? You do it anyway. And that's a hard thing for people to get over. 3 days is hard. 4 days is even harder. 5 days is going to be even harder, but you still show up. And we kind of talked about this last time about, no matter how you feel, you got to be persistent. Show up anyway. Do it anyway.
Just like today, my body was extremely fatigued, and I said, "You know what, girl, you showing up."
So this kind of keep that in mind when you have this idea of what you want to look like, how you want to feel, because you feel better when you're working out. You feel better, fitter, right? You have less health issues when you're fitter. So let's start now during this winter season, this cold, uncomfortable season, and just show up. Right?
Yeah. And remember, when in doubt, sign up for something that will challenge you.
Oh, like our Onyx.
High rocks.
High rocks, right?
So like we have a fitness race coming up soon. Like these are things that you can sign up for to help you stay prepped, to help you stay in that motion. So don't be afraid to be like, oh, well, I'm going to sign up for a race, but I might be in last place. Who freaking cares? You did something out of your comfort zone. It took your mind, your body, everything to prep for it. And no matter what, you're doing more than the average American, I promise you.
And not that a lot of you don't believe that you are ready for it, but you've been prepping. If you've been showing up in the gym consistently, you're prepped. You've been doing these things. Now it's just a test, right? My test was showing up at that gym and showing them what I have. This is your test, right? You've been prepping without even knowing that you've been prepping. You just been working out thinking you were doing it just for, health reasons, looking good, stuff like that. But now we actually get to apply it. We say it all the time. I call you athletes all the time. Now I'm speaking prophetically, okay? Because I know none of you actually play sports and the majority, and that's okay. But my mission, our mission, Beast Body mission, is to build athletes, to make y'all feel and bodies feel like athletes feel. And y'all are athletes. Y'all perform the exercises, whether you're modified or advanced. You're giving us what you got every single day. So just believe in yourself that you've done the necessary things. If you don't believe it, we believe it for you.
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
If no one tells you, we'll be the first one to tell you are ready for this. All right. Because you prepped, you've been training, you've been consistent. And if you haven't, here's your chance to start. It's simple as that.
Just
No
start.
judgment. It's just now, when are you going to make the decision to flip that switch?
Flip it, y'all. Flip it. But thank you so much for sharing on preparation. We appreciate it. And we will catch you guys next time.
We love you guys. Appreciate it for being on here with us. And we'll catch you later. All right.